Well, good evening, Eric. Thank you so much for all of your work tonight, and good evening to each and every one of you. We're over 200 strong right now on our telephone town hall, and I want to say welcome and thank you all for joining us. This town hall is going to be focused on safely reopening our schools with a special focus on distance learning. Again, my name is Mike McGuire, and I'm honored to work with you as Senator right here in beautiful Mendocino County. We are grateful to partner with the Mendocino County Office of Education, the Ukiah Unified School District, and our local teachers on this critical event this evening. The bottom line is this: times are incredibly difficult. Stress is high, and to top it all off, the school year is upon us for thousands of parents across Mendocino County. And that's why we wanted to come together tonight. Why we wanted to come together, because we want to ensure you have as a smooth a start as possible to the upcoming school year. And we want to make sure that we've gathered all of the right people all in one place, all ready to answer your questions, address your concerns, and provide accurate and timely updates. For example, we're going to cover what will the start of the year look like in Ukiah schools, or what are schools doing to assist students with special needs. We're going to cover what has changed since March about distance learning and what changes should families expect in this upcoming school year. We'll cover what some of the tools that families may need for social emotional support or mental health resources. And of course, we'll be covering the issue of food distribution and what that will look like here in 2020, 2021, among many other topics. And let's be honest, while this year will be improved from what we saw last school year, it's still going to be different compared to what we're used to. We'll all need to be able to work together for the success of our kids. Now, tonight, the most important part of this evening is you. We're going to spend as much time possible responding to your emails. We look forward to hearing from you. In fact, why don't you email us now? We're taking your questions and your comments in real time. Emily is with me tonight. She's monitoring the email box. Get a hold of us. senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Email us your questions and comments for our panelists, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. In just a few moments, you're going to hear from the Mendocino County Superintendent of Schools, Michelle Hutchins, and of course, we have the hard-working Superintendent of the Ukiah Unified School District, Deb Cuban, with us tonight. We're also going to have the Ukiah School Board President, Ann Molgard, and of course, we're grateful that Ukiah Teachers Association President, Terry DeSelke, is with us as well. We want to say good evening to both Ann and Terry. All right, let's get into it. We're going to turn the floor over to Mendocino County Superintendent of Schools, Michelle Hutchins. She's going to give us a Mendocino County overview, what the start of the school year is going to look like across the county. Then we're going to turn our focus to Ukiah schools. It's time to say good evening to County Superintendent of Schools, Michelle Hutchins. The floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us, Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Senator McGuire, for inviting me to participate tonight. You asked me to provide a brief overview of the school districts in the county and their response to the coronavirus. Mendocino County has great diversity in the makeup of our schools. We have approximately 12,000 students served in 12 school districts and a handful of charter and private schools. Our public schools range in size from Ukiah Unified School District serving 6,000 students to Manchester Elementary School District serving just over 40 students. All of our districts had an amazing response to COVID. They all came to the table and worked together with their communities to solve the issues COVID created for all of us. Every district thought of the safety of students first in defining what distance learning means for their community. Ukiah Unified is unique in our county as it serves half of the student population with 6,000 students and does not have a similar sized district to partner with. This makes the needs of Ukiah Unified School District uniquely different from the other districts in our county. Actually, each school site inside the Ukiah district has its own set of unique challenges which complicates the planning processes. So how are school districts preparing for distance learning this school year, and what will be different this year compared to last? Every school district is looking at the platform that suits them best, whether it be Google Hangouts, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams. What's been challenging is that the rules for planning have been changing a bit here and there, but for the most part, every single district immediately went into supporting their teachers and learning how to help kids access digital learning. The biggest difference between this year and last will be the fact that teachers in Mendocino County are incredibly dedicated and have been spending all summer getting ready for distance learning. The teachers I know have gone way above and beyond in the last few months and right now are hard at work preparing for this coming school year. Another big difference between this year and last spring is that last spring we moved to distance learning with classes that already knew each other and had established classroom cultures. This year, we're opening up school with distance learning where the teachers and students are unfamiliar with each other. That places a really strong focus on social-emotional connection, learning, and belonging, and building the classroom supportive environment so students feel safe, engaging in the new platform and the classroom. One question folks may be asking is how districts will provide distance learning equitably in a county that has significant connectivity challenges. Schools have done inventories on which families struggle with connectivity and are employing a variety of solutions. Many schools are partnering with local businesses and other public entities to expand the free Wi-Fi available in the community. Many are purchasing and deploying additional hotspots to expand the school's access points, and some are even opening up classrooms for families that do not have any other connectivity option. So what are some of the best tips for families to prepare? Be sure to reach out to your district or school so that you understand what the first day expectations are for your child. Ask what platform they will be using so that your family can practice using it prior to school opening. MCOE, Mendocino County Office of Ed, has created a parent guide that you can find on our website, mcoe.us, to assist parents with understanding how schools will look in the different phases of reopening. As a parent, I also recommend establishing routines that look familiar or look similar to school, such as earlier bedtimes and introducing family reading time to help your child transition. Most importantly, contact your school, as districts are doing things to really make things accessible this year. So what are schools doing to assist students with special needs? Schools will be providing some in-person instruction for students who require special assistance and analyzing the service delivery models for how they can accomplish meeting the special needs of students under the constraints of COVID-19. Teachers, staff, and parents are devising a lot of creative solutions so that people are trying in order to connect and provide students what they need. So in closing, I'll say that whether we're doing distance learning or in-person instruction, school staff have not forgotten the essential role of public schools play in helping students realize their potential. And lastly, what I want to say is that schools help children learn how to pursue their curiosity and become lifelong learners. And most importantly, in times like these, our schools help students learn to overcome hardship. So thank you, Senator, for inviting me today.
Madam Superintendent, we are so grateful. That's Michelle Hutchins, the County Superintendent of Schools right here in Mendocino County, working hard to be able to deliver for our kids each and every day. I want to remind you, we're taking your questions and your comments, and they're coming in strong right now. Make sure you hit us up at senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. That's senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. It's an interactive town hall, and we look forward to hearing from you tonight. All right. We're now going to turn the floor over to Superintendent Deb Cuban. She's the Superintendent of Schools for the Ukiah Unified School District. She's going to provide us with an in-depth briefing on the 2020-2021 school year. Madam Superintendent, thanks for your work. Thanks for your team's work. The teachers and classified, all of them are working so hard to be able to prepare for school. The floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Senator McGuire. Thank you for having us on tonight. And I just wanted to say that Ukiah Unified is going to be starting our school year on August 17th. with distance learning. We're super excited to welcome back all of our over 6,000 students and their families. We wish so much we could provide in-person learning because we believe that this is the best model for most students. However, we're excited about what we have in store for the fall in distance learning for our students and their families. As we move through the year and possibly 4 different learning models, we will remain committed to your child's educational and social emotional needs. I think the most essential thing that we can do is to stay flexible as we face these challenges, approach each other with compassion and kindness, and always keep our focus on kids, which is what we do. We've learned a lot since March about distance learning in our district, and I'd like to just share with you some of the changes that families will see. Our goal this year is to provide the best distance learning education possible for our children, and 2021 distance learning will be drastically different from remote learning of the past. Our teachers and staff made a Herculean effort to serve our students last year, both academically, through social emotional support, and we served over 2,000 students almost every week food in our community. We did hear from many parents last year, and they had mixed experiences. Some parents had an excellent experience with remote learning, while many other parents were disappointed in their students' learning experience. We listened to our stakeholders, both our staff, our community members, and our parents and our students, and we're taking steps to improve our distance learning program. And again, families should expect a dramatically different experience. That includes more time for students with online live instruction from a credentialed teacher, common structures across each school and classroom. We are in the process of doing a lot of professional development right now, specifically for distance learning, and I will echo what Superintendent Hutchins said. Our teachers have been hard at work all summer, learning and working on their curriculum, and we're also implementing some software enhancements. This is going to provide for greater consistency and equity between our classrooms. Elementary schools are going to use Google Classroom or Zoom and online platforms called Seesaw and Nearpod. Parents, you'll be learning about this. Secondary schools will be using Google Classroom or Zoom, along with an online platform called Edgenuity. Each school's principal and teachers will reach out soon with more details about distance learning, and I just wanted to let our parents know who are listening that starting next week, we're going to be sharing all of our detailed plans with our parents and our students, so you know in detail what to expect. Also, in terms of how parents and students should prepare, Google Classroom is going to be a big part of our distance learning program, and I encourage all parents and guardians to learn how it works so you can check your students' progress, view their work, or communicate with their teacher. There are some excellent videos for parents about Google Classroom on YouTube, and we're also going to be offering some parent education to support students during this time. You can always call your school with questions about Google Classroom, or you can do what I do. I have 3 kids in my household personally, and I always ask them for help when I get stuck. Also, I really feel strongly that the mindset matters. Having a positive frame of mind and a can-do spirit with your children and students is so important to their success during this uncertain time. They're really counting on all of us to do that. In terms of social emotional support and mental health resources for families, the social emotional impacts on students during this time are profound. I know we've all experienced it in our households and in our community. If your child is having difficulty now or at any time, do not hesitate to reach out for help. Please don't feel like you're alone. We are definitely all in this together. And as a parent, again, of 3 school-age children, I totally understand how challenging things are. For children in Ukiah Unified Schools, you can always call your child's school or email the school counselors for support. We have a strong counseling program in our district, and you can find contact information for our counselors at each school and other mental health resources on our website. We are here for you in our community, and our heart goes out to all of you. And in terms of food distribution, we will continue food distribution, and I want to thank Senator McGuire for his work on this and to the state. We are excited to continue to offer free breakfast and lunch to every Ukiah Unified student, and we really hope you take advantage of this program so that every student can get access to healthy, nutritious meals. Meals will continue to be served every Wednesday at one location, Ukiah High School, from 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 p.m. We are trying to extend our hours to accommodate working parents. Children do not need to be present, and parents and guardians who receive meals, you need to provide proof that your child attends the Ukiah Unified School. That is all I think I have for now, and I know we'll get to the questions.
That's right. Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. Appreciate that in-depth briefing of what to expect coming up here in just a few weeks with the start of the school year in August for Ukiah schools. All right, we're going to be taking your questions and comments here momentarily. If you have a comment, if you have a question regarding the opening of Ukiah schools or schools throughout Mendocino County, make sure you send us your email now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Let's get right to it. First question came in from Lisa in Ukiah. Let's first turn this over to Superintendent Cuban. Here we go. Can my children opt out of online participation in Chromebooks? Last year was a major struggle with my children and the internet. The floor is yours, Madam Superintendent. What say you about Lisa's question?
Yes, Lisa, we have a variety of programs that we're offering students. We feel that instruction from a teacher is vital, so we encourage people to first consider our distance learning program, but we also have an independent study program. So an independent study is very different from distance learning. With independent study, a student meets with a teacher once a week and is given assignments for the week and then returns those assignments the next week. There is not daily interaction with that teacher as opposed to distance learning. So, but definitely that is an option. Please talk to your school site principal if you're interested in that.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. We're going to our next question. This next question is coming in from Jim Moorhead. Jim was a fantastic founder of the Broadband Alliance, have done significant work on broadband access throughout the county. Here is Jim's question. Considering the dreadful state of residential broadband access in rural counties, what plans are being developed to provide all students with access should distance learning be necessary this fall, which we know it is going to be necessary. So let's take a countywide view. Let's go to Superintendent Hutchins first. Superintendent Hutchins, what about those students who don't have access to reliable internet or the hotspot doesn't work at their house? And then we're going to go to Superintendent Cuban.
So countywide, schools have been having this discussion since we were forced to go to distance learning last March. And what I will state is that countywide, schools have done inventories on which families struggle with connectivity and are employing a variety of different solutions. Some schools have partnered with local businesses and other public entities to expand the free Wi-Fi available in their community. So, for example, I live in Willits, and we just spoke with the Willits Unified District Superintendent, and he discovered we only have 6 businesses in Willits that offer free Wi-Fi. So he's going to be working with the Chamber of Commerce in Willits to see if we can get more businesses to offer more free Wi-Fi. Another process is to purchase and deploy additional hotspots, but also to open our school buildings up to family units in a very safe way to allow families to get access actually on the school campus. So those are 3 possibilities that schools have been exploring.
Thank you so much. That's Michelle Hutchins, County Superintendent of Schools in Mendocino County. We're now going to go to the Superintendent of Schools in Ukiah. Deb Cuban, talk about the challenges in regards to broadband and access to high-speed internet and what can be done via Ukiah schools to assist bridging that gap.
We worked quickly in March to obtain hotspots, wireless hotspots. We deployed over 200 of those in the spring, and we are purchasing more. We are trying to serve every student possible through wireless internet. There are some areas that our students live in that where those solutions will not work. We've also encouraged families to sign up for Comcast Internet, which for families who qualify is only $10 a month. And we will be giving Chromebooks out to every student in grade transitional kindergarten through 12. And those who need a wireless hotspot, we have reached out to our families to find out who needs them, and we will be issuing them a wireless hotspot that will go with their Chromebook as well.
Thank you
I'm
so
grateful,
much.
I'll just say, Senator McGuire, we're grateful for the additional funding that we are getting to be able to do that. The data plan on our wireless hotspots will be running about $12,000 a month, and so we're grateful to the state for giving us additional funding so that we can provide all of our students an equitable access. And then for students who do not have access to internet and our hotspots will not reach those areas, we will have packets for them to work from and live interaction with the teacher daily through the telephone.
No, I appreciate that very much, Madam Superintendent. And look, one of the biggest challenges that this state has faced, Mendocino County has faced, number one, in March, the immediate 180 all school employees had to do to be able to deal with the coronavirus and keep teaching, right? That was incredible stress, March, April through May, and we've learned a lot of lessons. And one of the lessons learned, at least on the state level, is we have to provide enhanced funding to schools to be able to provide adequate resources for Chromebooks and laptops and hotspots, help with data plans. So right now, $5.3 billion is moving right now into school districts. The way it's going to work is by August 5th, all school districts who have shortages of Chromebooks or laptops, need help with data plans, they need to be able to submit their grant request by August 5th. Via the California Department of Education. Once that's in, the Department of Education will be granting awards by early September. We're going to be turning that around immediately. It is absolutely critical for that and to ensure that we have learning available for kids on those Chromebooks, having the hotspots available. Let's go to Terry DeSelke. She is the president of the Ukiah Teachers Association. Terry, your members, they've had to really work hard to be able to change the way they teach. Talk to us a bit about that. How has it changed the daily activity for a teacher teaching remotely via distance learning?
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me on. And thank you for all the parents and people who are listening. So it has changed because we no longer get to be around our students and be able to be there to support them. That's a big thing that teachers go into teaching for, because we love teaching and we love being around students and being able to interact in person. So that's changed a lot, and that has been a very social, emotional drag, I think, in our entire community. The other part about the distance learning, we have been preparing all summer, like Superintendent Cuban said. Teachers really haven't had much time off because we want to improve our teaching practice. Distance learning was never something that we were trained to do when we were in college and learning and getting our degrees. So we've been working on learning about different learning models. We have been doing professional development with different online platforms. We are doing everything that we can so that we are ready and we can get with our students that very first day and help them to feel comfortable, help parents to feel more at ease than they might have been last spring. We were crisis teaching then, and I think everyone was in crisis because, you know, a pandemic is worldwide. So that's what we're doing. We're working really hard.
Thank you so much. That's Terry DeSelke. She's the Teachers Association president right here in Ukiah. We're grateful for her work and the work of Ukiah teachers and teachers, and as well as classified employees throughout Mendocino County. It has been an incredibly stressful time, and they have stepped up to be able to meet the challenge. Let's turn our attention to special education. We're getting an amazing amount of questions here tonight about special education and what's being done for special education students to be able to accommodate their special needs that would typically be accommodated in person. Let's turn it over to Superintendent Cuban first, then we're going to go to Superintendent Hutchins. Superintendent Cuban, in Ukiah, how are you going to be accommodating the needs of special education students?
Thank you for that great question. We will be having our special education. We will be meeting their needs through their individual education plans, of course, and at a distance. So we will be having our students follow the elementary, middle, and high school plans for distance learning, and they will be accommodated through their individual education plans. We really want to get parents involved in making sure that the distance program is going to meet the needs of their specialized needs of their students. And so they will be, our special ed teachers will be providing both virtual live instruction and assignments for the minutes that are required in a student's IEP meeting. Our teachers are already working with their colleagues to schedule services for students to work around their core academic instruction. And so we will be continuing to do some small group instruction, our speech services, and we will resume the assessments that were put on hold last spring due to COVID, and that will be a priority for us in this fall, is to get those new assessments done. So our teachers are great. Our special ed teachers are specially trained to support our general ed teachers with strategies and accommodations for our special education students. So we will continue to support that collaboration in our distance learning program.
Thank you so much. That's Superintendent Cuban from the Ukiah Unified School District. We are taking your questions and your comments tonight. This is our Education Town Hall focused on the reopening of Ukiah schools with distance learning, making sure we're as safe as possible. Give us your question now. Send it in, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We're taking your questions and your comments, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Let's go to Superintendent Hutchins here. So, Superintendent, quickly talk to us about the needs of special ed students. How are you looking at that as a countywide basis? 60 seconds, please.
So essentially, even with distance learning, some in-person instruction will occur. Of course, we'll be using all the CDC guidelines with the 6-foot physical distancing, facial masks, maybe even facial coverings. But it absolutely can be accomplished through a combination of in-person and distance instruction.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. Let's go to our next question. This one is coming in from Deborah. We're going to go back to Superintendent Cuban from Ukiah Schools. We're going to also bring in School Board President Ann Mogard here in a moment. Here's what Deborah is asking. How will meals be delivered by school buses? If so, don't they go out to remote areas that may not have wireless capacity? Could those buses be used as a hotspot in between and after food deliveries, or even as a miniature mobile classroom for students with special needs with little or no internet or computer access? All right. Deborah asked the question. The superintendent is going to give the answer. Then we're going to give the school board president some time to be able to answer as well. Talk about are meals going to be delivered by school bus? And then also, superintendent, could they be used for mobile hotspots? The floor is yours.
In terms of our food program going forward, we did a lot of work this summer to really streamline our program, and we're serving just as many students. And we were unable to serve the same food that we delivered out on the buses as we served off of the campuses. So we will not be delivering food via bus this year. It is more effective and serving it out of the high school campus. And then in terms of Wi-Fi on a bus, we've considered that and we'll reconsider it again. I know there are districts that have done that.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. We're going now to the Ukiah School Board President, Ann Mogard. talk about food distribution, and then what is the school board's philosophy about providing those kids with Chromebooks and connectivity, and have you been thinking about for those students who live outside of the city that come into the city every day for school, what possibilities are there? We'll turn it over to the school board president, Ann Molgard.
Well, I like the person who wrote in because they're thinking outside the box, to use the cliche phrase. We need all of those ideas to figure out how we can do it. It's not easy. We have the advantage of being in Ukiah, so at least most of our students do have access to the internet, unlike most of the other districts throughout Mendocino County and many throughout California who struggle even more than we do. That's one of the reasons why we're so grateful for the huge amount of funding that we're getting that is to be used on making up for these learning lapses that are occurring because of COVID. So we're definitely going to invest. There's no firm commitment yet how we're going to invest, but we will definitely be investing in increased connectivity. It's also a good excuse to work more closely with the broadband efforts, as you mentioned earlier, Senator McGuire, because now this is a perfect example of why we can't forget about the rural counties. We're not just forgetting about all the rural small businesses that don't have access to the internet. We're also leaving these kids abandoned. And so we're hoping that with our good examples and good stories that we can share, that we're going to be able to give even more energy and life to the current broadband efforts already.
Thank you so much, Madam President. That's Ann Molgard, President of the Ukiah Unified School District's Board of Trustees. We're grateful for her work. We're going to keep going with these questions. If you have a question or a comment, hit us up right now, Senator.McGuire at senate.ca.gov. We're now going to talk about social-emotional support. As we all know, it is an incredibly stressful time that we're all living in. There's a lot of anxiety. Folks are trying to stay healthy. Many cannot work. Many have lost their job. Couple of questions. One is going to go to Superintendent Hutchins first. Then we're going to go to our amazing school board president. And then we're going to talk to our president of the Teachers Association. Whether Robert, Erica, Lisa, Riley have all written in about will there be extra support for emotional or mental health well-being for students? Let's start with Superintendent Hutchins. What are you seeing across the county about the need for enhanced emotional or mental health support for kids?
What I'm going to say is that it's essential. In my opening statement, I did mention that one of the biggest differences between this year and last spring is that last year when we went into distance learning, classes already knew each other and had established cultures. This year, we'll be opening up where the teacher and the students are unfamiliar with each other, and it places really a strong need on focusing on creating that belonging and building a classroom supportive environment. And all of that is done through that social emotional support and connections. So in addition to just building that strong connection in the beginning, we've also seen, our Child Protective Services reports are down. And so we're concerned about the safety and well-being of students while on distance learning. So it's important as a community that we really work together to make sure students' needs are met.
Thank you so much. That is Superintendent Hutchins, Mendocino County Superintendent of Schools. We're now going to turn it over to the Ukiah School Board President, Ann Molgard. Ann, talk to us about the conversations that the school board has had about that social, emotional support, mental health of kids. Then we're going to turn it over to our Teacher Association President. President Molgard, Ukiah School Board first, please.
Thank you. Well, we're just glad that we're not starting from scratch right now. Over the last 5 years, we've increased social emotional support by adding counselors and by adding family and community liaisons at each school. And what the liaisons are in charge of noticing problems, supporting families, getting them connected to other community resources, in addition to the counselor at every school that we have now, plus more counselors at the middle school and high school because they're bigger. In addition, with the funding that's coming on, one of the recommendations that is coming from staff is to increase our social emotional support. So in addition to what we've already been doing, we will be adding some in the future as well. The other thing I would mention is last year at the Ukiah High School, the first 2 weeks were spent with a particular focus on social emotional. It wasn't about, hi, I'm just meeting you and I'm throwing 3 books at you that you have to read in the next 2 weeks. It was much more getting in touch with each other, knowing each other better, and that's really going to happen throughout the whole district this year. Superintendent Cuban could probably give details, but we're really going to be focusing the first couple weeks on creating that group and social safety net experience in a new way, since we have to do it over Zoom.
Thank you so much. No, it is challenging. Thank you. That's Ukiah School Board President Ann Mogard. Let's now go to the Ukiah Teachers Association President Terry DeSelke. Terry, when you are talking with teachers throughout the district, they have to be seeing enhanced challenges of kids. They're stressed, and a lot of times kids act out when their families are stressed. Talk to us about what you're seeing with kids, and we're seeing this across the state. This is not just an issue in Ukiah, but can you just give us a glimpse of what teachers are seeing when it comes to the mental health of kids during this pandemic?
Sure. Well, teachers are very concerned about the mental health of our children, our students. We last year saw many students who were not engaged or who did not attend on certain days, or maybe we had a hard time getting a hold of them at all. So this year what we are really working on and focusing on is, like Superintendent Cuban said, we'll spend a lot of time engaging with our students and making sure that they know what this new learning is going to look like and that we're there to support them. We'll be doing daily check-in, both small and large groups. There will be a built-in time of day to get to know each other and practice helping and empathizing with one another and working together. Teachers are really busy learning new ways to engage students and make learning more fun and make it more interesting and unique so that we can keep the attention of the students.
Thank you so much. We're grateful for that. That's Terry DeSelke. She's the Teachers Association President for Ukiah Schools. Hey, I want to stay with Terry, though, our Teachers Association President. This is coming in from Martha. Martha Ash is a kindergartner coming into Ukiah Schools this year. How will students bond with their new teacher over distance learning? So, Terry, talk to us about that. Then I'd like to go to Superintendent Cuban on that same question. Let's first stay with Terry DeSelke with the Ukiah Teachers Association.
Well, teachers really believe that we are made for this. Kindergarten teachers are a very unique population, and first grade teachers even, because those are our youngest learners. They know how to talk to kids. They know how to engage with them. They know they can even predict when something might be the matter. They know how to connect their students. I'm amazed at how much our kindergarten and first grade teachers and even our preschool teachers are able to know about what their students need and how to get them involved. They're naturally curious at that age.
No, I appreciate that, Terry. Thank you so much. Terry with the Ukiah Teachers Association. Let's turn it over to Superintendent Cuban. That same question, Superintendent, how do these little munchkins bond with their teachers? This is what Martha wants to know. She has a kindergartner coming in over Zoom. Talk to us about that.
I have to say, I'm thinking specifically of one of our kindergarten teachers from last year. She did such amazing work keeping connected with her students. I remember one teacher who sent out they were reading the book Flat Stanley. They sent out Flat Stanleys through the mail to their students, so they continually connect. We also are working on a materials pickup process that will allow students to be able to see their teachers' faces and to get to know them. We're planning for some individual conversations from between teachers and parents and students together, so that that individual touch and getting to know you piece can happen for our youngest children.
Thank you so much. Superintendent, but let's just be honest, it's hard for everybody right now. Would you say that?
I totally agree. It's extremely hard.
Yeah. And really want to say thank you to the amazing school employees, whether you're a classified, a teacher, an administrator, a school board member, really trying to work on behalf of our kids. We're grateful. We're going to stick with Superintendent Cuban from Ukiah Schools. This next question is coming in from Kristen. Here's what Kristen has to say, Madam Superintendent. During the pandemic, our family has relocated to Ukiah as our permanent residence. I have a son that has an IEP. What is the best way to initiate registration before the fall session begins? That's coming in from Kristen.
I would give our district service center a call, 472-5003, and talk with Marta, and she will get Kristen in touch with our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, who can figure out what school the student will be enrolled in. It will be easier to go that way. So call 472-5003 tomorrow, and we will help you with the registration process.
Thank you so much. Kristen's going to be calling. Let's hope she calls in on Monday. We look forward to hearing from you, Kristen, and to be able to get your son or daughter enrolled there with Ukiah Schools in a fantastic school district. This next question is now going to be going to our school board president, Ann Mulgard. Madam President, this question is coming in from Cassie. Cassie asks, will the school board continue to follow the guidelines of the public health officer in regard to complete online teaching? Madam President, that's coming in from Cassie.
We will continue to do so unless something very unusual happens. It's just hard for me to say 100%, but it would be very unusual for us not to follow the recommendation of the local public health officer. Here in Mendocino County, we hit 315 cases today, and so unfortunately, it's not going to be anytime soon.
There we go, and the dog has something to say about that as well. So I like it.
See how quickly I muted? Oh, so sorry.
No, the school board president, we are all getting good. We've been on Zoom or conference calls, and our cats or dogs jump on with us. It's all part of it right now. Madam School Board President, anything else you want to say to Cassie?
It's hard to know what her question is. Is she concerned because we are going back? At some point, is she concerned that we're never going back? So it's hard to say. But of course, as usual, we would also be following. What we did when we first reached our decision was we were talking daily basis with the public health officer. And that was before we were on the watch list. So now that we're on the watch list, the governor's watch list, it's a little bit even more serious, and we have a little bit less control over the situation. When we get more control over the situation again after our numbers plateau, it would just be a discussion to see, can we safely go back, or is it going to cause too much of a problem with kids carrying the virus, whether they're, asymptomatic or not.
No, I appreciate that. That's Ann Mulgard. She's president of the Ukiah School Board. And when a county is on a watch list, a county only comes off the watch list per the mandate at this point when there is not a death for 14 days. So that could be extended for quite some time. And I'm going to be candid, and I never want to deliver bad news, but we should all be planning to be in this ebb and flow of virus spikes, virus lows for at least another 12 months from now. According to the California Department of Public Health and the Centers for Disease Control at the federal level, we won't see a vaccine at the earliest until the end of this year or within the first 6 months of 2021. It's believed that it's going to take another 6 months to be able to get enough folks vaccinated really to make a dent in society. So we believe at a minimum we're in this mode that we're in for another 12 months, which is why there's been so much work. We heard that from Terry DeSelke tonight. We've heard that from Det Cuban and Michelle Hutchins. There's been so much work going into building this distance learning because there's a very good chance we'll at least be in it parts of the year or a full year for quite some time. We're now going to go to our next question. This one is going to be going to Superintendent Cuban. We have about 10 minutes left. If you'd like to be able to get your questions in, we'd love to hear from you. Senator.McGuire senate.ca.gov. We're taking your questions and your comments live right now. Emily is on the laptop ready to go. Senator.McGuire at senate.ca.gov. We're going to change gears, Madam Superintendent, just a bit. This one is coming in from Lee and Mona. What will physical education look like? How will UUSD help to keep children physically active? Madam Superintendent, the floor is yours.
Physical education is built into our distance learning model, and there will be a time allocated for physical education. I know the state has relaxed the instructional minutes requirements for physical education, but we will still be engaging and delivering students in physical education. And as I was reading today an article on how parents can support social emotional learning, one of the key pieces was getting students outdoors and getting active. So some of the physical education program will be done through independent study physical education logs. So there are a variety of ways we will be delivering it, but we have not forgotten the importance of physical education, especially during this very stressful time.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. We're going to stick with Superintendent Cuban from Ukiah Schools. This one is coming in from George. George asks, how can there be more support for parents regarding the technology?
Yes, that is an excellent question, and there are many ways to support parents through technology. When we first start our program, we're going to do some parent education programs. They obviously will be online. I chuckle at myself. I think back in my career when I was a high school assistant principal, when attachments were just going on to email. I know I'm dating myself. But I was sitting in a computer lab of a high school, and I leaned over and asked a high schooler, how do you attach this document to an email? And the student quickly showed me. Our students are very adept at technology. And so, as I said before, interact with your students, but we will also be providing some classes for parents. And there are some great online videos that you can watch, but we will definitely help you. We're here for you to help support your students.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Superintendent Hutchins. Superintendent, I'm sure this is an issue you hear a lot about from superintendents and parents from across the county. Superintendent Hutchins is the county superintendent of schools. How do you help train parents to become fluent on those Chromebooks and laptops? Madam Superintendent.
That's an excellent question. Thank you. Well, we are actually the County Office of Education will be putting some parent support classes together as well. But really, it's about not being afraid of what the technology is going to do. When you watch an adult versus a student sit in front of a computer program that they've never used before, the student immediately starts to press buttons and see what happens, where the adult tends to look around for an instruction set to tell them what to do. And so a lot of it is just don't be afraid to push buttons and explore. But the support will be available both through Ukiah Unified and MCOE.
Thank you so much. That's Michelle Hutchins, County Superintendent of Schools. All right, we're coming back to Superintendent Cuban. This email just came in from Jeff. Jeff asked, how does the district plan on handling the unavoidable shortage of teachers during distance learning? Teachers will get sick this year, not just with COVID. We get colds, we get the flu, and unavoidably, some will get COVID. And there's no way to tell the difference between the different sicknesses without a test. There's much more to the question, but let's get right to it, Madam Superintendent. So how does the district plan on handling the unavoidable shortage of teachers during distance learning?
We know that we will need substitutes, and we know that we will need to train substitutes. We're currently working up a training plan for substitutes, and I'll tell you now that all of our administrators are also going through distance learning training in case we need to step in at some point. I was an English teacher, so you may see me teaching a little bit of English this year.
All right, we're going to see the superintendent in the classroom. I know my wife is an elementary school teacher or elementary school principal, and she spent a few days last year online with a few classes. Let's go to our Teachers Association President, Terry DeSelke. Any comments on that in regards to teachers getting sick?
Well, just that teachers want.
Oop, Terry, we're losing your signal. I'm going to have you just move to a little bit of a different area. Terry, I want to make sure.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. You're on.
Okay. So teachers want what's safest for students, teachers, and staff, and we believe that healthy teachers will provide continuous education without disruption because of poor health, and that we wouldn't need a substitute. So we're looking forward to working with the district on keeping our teachers healthy.
Thank you so much. That's Terry DeSelke. She's the Teachers Association president in Ukiah. Superintendent Cuban is getting a lot of questions here tonight, and Superintendent, I appreciate it. Here we go. This next one is coming in from Alyssa. What will a typical school week look like with distance learning for an elementary student? Will there be a schedule and daily FaceTime with teachers? Will there be any opportunity for students to meet their teacher in person? Let's turn it over to Superintendent Cuban from Ukiah Schools.
And I'll just say out there, if anybody has any questions that don't get answered tonight, feel free to email me. I'm always happy to answer questions. So yes, there will be a daily schedule, and it will include both virtual live instruction and office hours with teachers, support classes. We're also building in an after-school and evening tutoring program. I have struggled with math with my own children, and I know that I sometimes need help as a parent helping my student with math. So we'll also be building an afternoon and evening tutoring that will be available for parents and kids. But we do have a drafted schedule. School will start at its normal time. I know that will be a shock to some of our secondary students, but the high school starts at 8:15 a.m., and we will expect students to be ready to go at that time online with their teachers. And our elementary schools are developing their internal schedules, meaning what time English language arts is, math is, and they will be, teachers will be working with their principals in their grade spans to develop those, and we will get those out to parents, but it will be it will be structured for sure.
Thank you so much. That is Superintendent Cuban from Ukiah Schools. We're now going to turn to Terry DeSelke. She's the Teacher Association president, to be able to comment on that. Then we'll go to Ann Mogard, who's the school board president, and see if she has any comments on that. Terry, a typical school week, a typical day with distance learning, especially for elementary kids. This is Alyssa writing in. What say you?
So are you asking what would a typical school day look like for an elementary student?
Exactly.
Okay. So they would check in with their teacher and their classmates in the morning after they have breakfast. They would do a little bit of social emotional to find out how things are going. They would also have some lessons online. Those could be with whole group or small group, English language arts and math. Very important. They might have a recess where they stay online, or they go take a break, or maybe they'll have their PE time that their PE specialist has assigned them, their PE teacher, and they'll have some movement and lunch, and they might come back after lunch and have some small group, or they may work on some asynchronous worksheets or some lessons that their teacher would be looking for to have the next day.
Thank you so much. Very grateful. That's Terry DeSelke. She's the Teacher Association president. Let's give the last word on this specific issue. Then we're going to have a couple more questions, and we're going to wrap up. We'll take some final questions here. If you have any final questions or any comments, we look forward to hearing from you. Senator.McGuire@senate.ca.gov. Madam President, President of the school board, it's been a lot of work. The school board's been thinking about it a lot, about that typical day. You have any comments on that, on what parents and students can expect in Ukiah?
Well, the point is to still have the same number of minutes that are required by California, but all of those minutes cannot possibly be on Zoom, especially for the elementary and middle schools. Maybe the high schools could take that much, but boy, there's no way you're going to get any kind of enthusiasm, let alone compliance with elementary that long. So it'll be a mixture of both Zooming and then maybe a phone call and then maybe a conference call with other people and then some quiet reading work. And that'll all be explained carefully at the beginning of each day, and the whole schedule will be shared with students and parents at the beginning of the year.
That's
and
great.
Again, like Superintendent Cuban said, if you have any questions, you talk to the teacher, you talk to the principal, you call our COVID hotline at 472-5003. If you can't, if you're not understanding the Chromebook, we'll have somebody individually go over it with you online. So there's lots of resources there. So I hope people are not too bashful to ask for a little bit of help. We all need some help sometime.
Absolutely, especially these days. Thank you so much. Let's go to our next question. This one is coming in for Michelle Hutchins. She's the County Superintendent of Schools. Bob is asking, at MCOE, I'm curious as to what PPE is required for staff.
So at Mendocino County Office of Education, our campus is currently closed and only open for payroll staff. So currently, when we're working from our homes, there's not PPE required. However, for the staff that are going into the office, they're required to wear a face mask the whole time or a cloth face covering, and maintain 6 feet physical distancing. They have to wash their hands when they first come in, and also let any supervisor and maintenance person know where they've been on the campus so that we can make sure the campus is properly cleaned after they've left.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful, Superintendent, for the clarification. Again, a lot of questions coming in for Superintendent Cuban. Superintendent, what is the best way if folks, after this town hall, have questions, what phone number should they call?
They can call 472 if they want. Do they want to get in touch with me?
We're just going to have some questions that aren't going to get answered just because we've had quite a few questions that have come in tonight. And if they don't have their questions answered, what would be the best phone number to call? It's a lot on PPE, a lot on starting the school year. Is there a phone number that folks should call? We may have just lost.
We might have lost Superintendent Cuban. So if so, I'm going to give the front main office line, which is 472-5003, and then Marta can contact whoever is the most appropriate person to answer that question. And that's answered Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
Thank you so much.
472-5003.
And can you hear me now, Senator McGuire?
Yes, and President Mulgar just gave out the 472-5003 number, and we'll be connected to Martha, and she will be able to direct those questions.
Yes, or email is great as well.
All right. Let's go to our last question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we are so appreciative. We started with about 220 folks. We're still about 174 strong tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to go to our last question. Then we're going to ask for some very brief closing comments from each of our all-star panelists. Again, Superintendent Cuban, you are popular tonight. Here's our last question coming in from David. If schools are on remote learning and the district is requiring teachers to report to school for remote learning, how will they be able to support students if their technology isn't working?
Could you repeat that question, Senator McGuire? I'm sorry.
It's a little confusing, I'll be honest. So long story short,
okay.
You have teachers that are performing distance learning. A student has challenges with their technology. Who supports them to be able to get that technology back up and running?
That's a great question. We have an amazing technology department in our district, and so they can contact the school site. There's a technology support person at every school site that can help them get their technology back up and running.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hey, we are so appreciative of everybody tuning in tonight. What we'd like to be able to do is say we wish you all a wonderful school year. I know that it's going to be difficult, but we are all working together for the success of our kids. And just want to say how much we appreciate Terry DeSelke. She is the Teachers Association president in Ukiah. Terry, we're going to give you 30 seconds for a closing comment. Then we're going to go to Ann Molgard, Deb Cuban, and our county superintendent of schools. Let's turn it over to Terry DeSelke for a closing comment.
Okay, I want to make sure you can hear me. Can you?
You are good. We hear you loud and proud.
Okay, so this year is unlike any other year, and we want more than anything to make sure that our students are successful. We want to be back with them. We want to be with our colleagues. We want to work together because we believe that our community trusts us to do the best job with their children, and we take that very seriously.
Thank you so much, Terry. We're really grateful that you were able to join us tonight. That's Terry DeSelke. She is the Ukiah Teachers Association president. Thank you for your partnership tonight. Let's turn it over now to the president of the Ukiah School Board. Her name is Ann Molgard. Ann, thank you for being with us tonight. 30 seconds closing comment.
Well, thanks, Senator McGuire, for remembering and caring enough about education to make this one of your town halls. We appreciate that. To parents, I guess I want to say, hang in there. We know it's hard. Please don't hesitate to ask for help. There's more resources out there than you even realize, but we have to know what you need so that we can be responsive. And to teachers, I just want to say congratulations. I think this is the only silver lining I can see is that parents have a renewed appreciation for the hard work and dedication that teachers and expertise that teachers have, because sometimes parents start thinking, oh, it's just fancy babysitting, and then they had to do it themselves. And so little silver lining is the renewed respect for teachers, I hope. Thank you.
All right. Madam President, thank you so much. That's Ann Molgard. She's president of the Ukiah School Board. Thank you so much and does great work for us with the county of Mendocino as well. Let's turn it over to Superintendent Cuban. She's superintendent of Ukiah Unified School District. Superintendent, closing comments, 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say I'm so honored to work in the community of Ukiah, and we have great people in our community. We have awesome staff and teachers, and my heart goes out to all of us for having to work through this together. I hope that we all just remain flexible and compassionate and kind, and that you let us know what we can do for you. We are here for our community 100%, and I am confident that we will serve you this year really well.
Superintendent Cuban, we are so appreciative of your work in these challenging times. Thank you so much for joining us and for all of your good work that you do each and every year. Let's now turn it over for our final word. Final word, and her name is Michelle Hutchins. She's our County Superintendent of Schools. 30 seconds, closing comment. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. In the debate on opening schools, you know, it's important to understand that our in-person instruction under the COVID restrictions will not be the same quality as pre-COVID. We cannot do collaborative group work. We can't have one-on-one conferences with the teacher at the desk. Your partner discussions are gone, and you can't even pass in papers to your teacher. However, the distance learning that's going to be provided will be better than what was last spring. And so despite all efforts, normal learning is just not on the table for this year. But what I want to say is that that's okay. It's better to experience a little bit of learning loss than really gamble with this virus. And schools are going to be ready to pick up when this virus is gone and we can resume in normal operations. So we just ask everybody to be patient and know that it's okay. Thank you, Senator McGuire.
Hey, Madam Superintendent, thank you so much. We are so appreciative of your work, and we so appreciate all of you tuning in for our telephone town hall focus on reopening our schools safely with a special emphasis on distance learning. Please contact the Ukiah School District if you have any specific questions about your student. They're looking forward to being able to reconnect with your kids here in just a few weeks. We're going to be providing the school district, along with the Mendocino County Office of Education, a full audio file, a recording of this town hall, which will be posted on each of the social media channels so that you're going to be able to have that for reference as we move towards the school year. Thank you for allowing us to work with you in the State Senate, and I promise you, my top priority has always been and will always be our kids in strong public schools. We're going to be adjourning. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay strong, Mendocino County. We'll talk to you soon.